Hey, what's up, everybody? Jackson Callum with First Class Business here. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you appreciate this video as much as I think you're going to. We use a system called Go High Level. I'm going to be talking about customer journey mapping and the importance of building amazing pipelines, powerful pipelines for your CRM. Customer journey mapping is really all about making sure that every guest that or client, prospect, you name it, anybody who's interacting with your brand has an easy path and time getting from point A to point B. And point A to point B is often looked at as linear, but it's not. Think of your business like a city. Where you've got different roads, hundreds of options of different roads. What if the person's on the phone and they hang up and they have to call back and they get in a rep, for instance? We've all been in that scenario where that process is not well thought out for business. Now, we're not going to dive that deep because I'm going to be talking about brands that have teams within probably 10 to 50 employees. I shouldn't say 10, actually 2 to 50 employees. Now, some of those employees are also independent contractors. It might be service providers that you utilize. So even you solopreneurs out there will benefit tremendously from getting ahead of this. The problem is most businesses don't learn about this until it's far too late, which is what leads 96% to fail. So you can notice right here that I've got a whole lot of pipelines on here. Some of them are organized, some of them are not. We're in the process of setting up our own systems for First Class Business as well, and we're not going to hide behind it. We are a startup. These systems work far more effectively for established brands that already have a whole lot of things going for them, where you don't have to start from scratch. You can optimize what exists already, so long as it didn't build in the right direction, or it didn't build in the wrong direction, which means you then got bridges to tear down as you're rebuilding at the same time. So without further ado, let's look at some of our pipelines. One, our greatest source and pipeline is our podcast, Vision Pros Live. If you haven't checked it out, visionproslive.com. You can go see how we built that podcast. We've been fortunate to be modeling brands like Entrepreneur on Fire. So if you go and you look at Entrepreneur on Fire and you look at Vision Pros Live, you'll see extreme similarities, because I have a lot of respect for what John Lee Dumas has built. Now, I'm not going to show that pipeline today or the Vision Facebook ads pipeline. We'll talk about that on other occasions. If you drop some comments you want to see behind the scenes, just let me know. We're going to be particularly talking about the high ticket leads pipeline. All right. And I'm going to go to one of our resources, just pulling up this video real quick, and just show you the screenshot. We believe that if a brand wants to grow well and you want to scale, it's very important to make sure that you scale based on your high ticket offer. Why? Mainly because there's profit margins with it. If you go around trying to sell a $7 ticket or a $27 service or even a $297 service, the amount of effort that you have to put in to get those products sold is awful. Your return on investment, your time for your hours spent is too low to typically justify that experience. So if you notice this part down here along the bottom, I wish Loom gave me the ability to draw, but just pretend right where this hero is. Well, the hero is not first class. It's not me. Yeah, I kind of, I guess, look like the hero, but that's not me at all. That's the business owner. That's your brand. And stranger danger is real. Anybody who's interacting with your brand is going to feel it first. Not now. Like, I don't know who you are. I'm not ready for this yet. It's very rare you come across the 5% of people who are already in the market to buy, and they just happen to want to buy from you, the stranger. So with that said, if you're going to be talking to people directly, rather than talking to them about your online funnels and pushing them towards a webinar, you should be pushing them towards, and preferably not pushing, but inviting them to follow you towards your high ticket offer. What is the best thing that you can do for them? Lead confidently with that experience. Okay. So again, there's this funnel that exists. There's a journey that this person's going to go through. And like I said, sometimes they're strangers. They don't even know who you are, let alone what you offer, and let alone how you go about it and how they might want to sign up for it or why it might benefit them. So without further ado, let's look at some of the elements of the high ticket leads pipeline. And we are going to be diving in pretty deep tonight. So high ticket leads pipeline. This is a 70-step pipeline. It's not enough. It's just a starting point. Now, when you're building these, this is kind of confusing, especially in Go High Level. And that's ultimately what I wanted to point out today is when you're trying to build a pipeline, you got your pipeline, where you're moving people towards. And if you're doing this manually, by the way, if you're manually moving your pipeline as a solopreneur, you are already failing miserably. You don't have time for that. Use a pen and paper. This is for tracking other people's work, and it's for also implementing automation workflows. So you got pipelines in one section of the system. Below my picture here, you've also got your marketing, which is where you create your email templates that go along with automating your pipeline. And then you have this automation set. Some of you are going to click off just because I've confused you already. Hang in there with me. I'm going to streamline it. The problem is not me. The problem is that all these components of the system have to come together, and pipeline's organization skills are better than what I would have probably built, but they're still difficult. So marketing, you've got emails and email templates under there that go with your pipeline. Then you got your automation section as well. And in automation, you got workflows and you got folders in there too. And then you have your website and your sites that you build and your landing pages that might associate with these workflows or with the links, and trying to keep all of that organized without being provided a proper structure is extremely painful. And you know what? I don't enjoy doing it all, which is why this video benefits me too. I prefer to educate my clients so they can build an organization structure similar to mine. We can provide that. But if I'm going to bring a client in, I'd rather have you seen this video up front so that you can organize your madness. It is chaos typically when you go into a client's CRM because, again, there's no infrastructure provided. So this is my infrastructure. You'll notice here, I've got the word automate next to all of these stages. Why? Because it's not automated yet for this particular pipeline. And so that gives me a reminder that, I need to make sure that I organize the workflow for that. So let's go down and look at some of these things. I've also got these interesting words here that nobody else uses when it comes to marketing growth. And that's because in the world, I created something that I've never seen addressed or answered before. It's one of the greatest reasons why I think businesses are failing is when it comes to the marketing funnel, and let's switch gears to that, nobody's taught the action you need to take. You're only taught the consumer state of mind. So the traditional marketing funnel showcases this right here: awareness, interest, consideration, intent, evaluation, and purchase. All you marketers are following along aboard. All you business owners that haven't learned that yet are like, I don't get it. That's because these are what are taught. But what's not taught by marketers, what I've never seen anybody dissect, is the seller action that holistically and naturally gets people to the next level. For instance, intrigue. Let's pretend that somebody's not aware of you and you wanted them to purchase from you. Okay, think of a sketchy parking lot where somebody opens their trunk and says, buy cologne from me, right? And they expect you to purchase. That is what it's like to try to intrigue somebody straight to the purchase. It is not a good experience. People don't like it. It is ruining your brand reputation. Instead, when you intrigue somebody, the goal, like a knock on the door, is designed to create awareness, and they want a safe space. Stranger danger is a real thing. You have to warm people up appropriately. And if you do so, not only will you have more people convert, you'll also repel less people, which is also a benefit. And at the same time, those who commit to join you are going to commit for their own internal purposes, like that movie Inception. That's ultimately what you're going for without the manipulation of doing it in somebody's brain or dream. But you're following the principles of a healthy relationship by intriguing them first, then attracting them, then inspiring them, and inviting them to move forward, giving them an offer, and showing them that you can support them by being dependable, providing a sense of security. If you have an element of healthy, true scarcity and a sense of urgency, like a cookie that's going to go cold that just came hot out of the oven, that's a great sense of urgency to drive forward a sell, then you're going to lead to a wholesome purchase that people do not regret. These principles are phenomenal in of themselves. Let's go back to how we utilize them in the process of building out our pipeline in order to make sure that our pipeline stages make sense and build healthy relationships. That's really what this is all about. So the prospect that gets imported, they're unaware. The prospect that you qualify, that you decide, you know what, this prospect, I like their name, I like their title, they work in my industry, and maybe you looked up some other data on LinkedIn about them. Maybe it's that they had a LinkedIn profile. Okay, that person's qualified. Unaware lead called. This is a stage that if you have the ability to automate your power dialer and have people call because you happen to have the phone numbers as well. If you're outsourcing that to team members that are in South America or India, Pakistan, or the Philippines, you can be quite lucrative with that, especially in industries like the mortgage industry. We did that for a company in the mortgage industry, and their revenue growth was insane. You'll see it in some of our case studies, but we're talking like 6 figures growth within 2 training sessions with the team. Granted, they already had the call center in place. It would have cost us about $50,000 to $75,000 to create the infrastructure for a call center like that. But to be able to do that and then have $100,000 to $200,000 per month coming in thereafter, it's worth the investment. All right, so going on to Aware, you send Aware. The initial message gets sent, right? Aware. A warm-up message is sent. Why do we keep it in the aware stage instead of the interested stage? Because we don't know if they read the message or not. So we don't know if they're aware. We only know that they're aware once a response has been received. But does that mean they're interested? No, it doesn't. What if their response received is go away, right? In not so nice terms, like we don't want your messaging. We don't want your product. We don't want your service. We don't want your podcast. Sam, I am. Like, leave me alone. Well, they still stay at the aware response receive stage, but perhaps that's a lead worth abandoning. You can do that in the Go High Level system. You mark it as abandoned, right? We're not moving forward with it. So we'll leave it there. Maybe we'll get creative later and come back like Sam, I am. All right, 7, interested. If they're interested, there's this little link that says relationship builder number 1 sent. Okay. Then there's the link sent. What are we doing here? We're making sure to shield them from the link. We're kind of giving, like, we've intrigued them. Now it's time to build a relationship with them. I'm not going to dive into the nuts and bolts of that too much, but once again, I'm making sure that I'm really building an honest sense of a relationship with this person, and it's going to make the job of the person closing the deal or assessing whether the brand is a good fit or the person is a good fit to move forward with that much easier. Then they move into that consideration phase, right? So here we want to be inviting them, and in my case, for the high ticket version of what we do, not the online lead magnets and not the follow-up sequence that's automated for the webinar and stuff like that. I'm talking about high ticket processes and really like boots on the ground or boots on Facebook, booking Zoom calls to get to know people. If they have no context of who you are and what you do, and there's not an urgent tax season experience where people are trying to like race to hire the next financial advisor or CPA or whoever they need to do their taxes, then you don't want to rush the sell. It usually comes back to bite you when you do that. So you got these different levels of calls. Alignment call would ideally be somewhere between, 3 minutes for a disqualified, 5 minutes for a potentially qualified, to 15 minutes. And then you allow them to marinate on that experience. You give them some context and information. You're going to need more. If you're doing high ticket, you need more information about that individual that they weren't willing to share the first time because of stranger danger. Now they're not lying to you as much. Now they're telling you more about who they are and what they actually do. And okay, yeah, like I told you revenues were X, but they're really here. Or, well, I kind of withheld this diversification for our income because I didn't trust you. Yeah, they're not going to say the word trust, but these are the types of things that happen as relationships develop and you gain trust with the prospect. So they decide to move forward with intent, and let's go back. All these re-invites, let's not skip that. They had intent to book, but guess what? People get busy. People get distracted. People regret saying yes. It happens all the time. If it happens in marriage, then it also happens certainly when you meet a stranger. So canceled, immediate follow-up sent for somebody who canceled, right? And if they've gotten to the point where they actually booked and confirmed their appointment, then you have every right to try to follow up and figure out what the heck happened. And you can be very aggressive in that. In fact, I recommend you do, because in the worst case scenario, I guess they're just like leaving weird. But in your worst case scenario, maybe for whatever reason, your automation didn't trigger, or maybe that email went to spam, right? If you don't follow up, then what's going to happen to their feelings? They're going to say and feel, well, they didn't really want the business that bad. They don't really care about me. I guess they don't want to work with me after all. See, we get all these weird ghosting. You hear these terms like ghosting in the market. That doesn't exist unless you're creepy, by the way. People won't ghost you. That doesn't happen. People are human beings. They have experiences. Or they just got off the phone and they were excited to work with you. And next thing you know, they hear their daughter or their son or their dog throw up. And now they go and handle that. And for whatever reason, the Microsoft update happens and the computer shuts off and they don't have access to that page anymore. And they got to get everything else open and their life just got busy. And you have become the last priority for the moment here and now. Not because you don't have a valuable service, because life happens to people. So you want to have great follow-up sequences in place, follow-up sequences that nurture, follow-up sequences that ask, hey, are you okay? Hey, by the way, we still want to meet with you. And yeah, here's our link to do so. You want to be able to nurture them forward, add some value. By the way, here's a little bonus that can help you out. If you know your stages really well and what it is that you offer and provide, and the little bitty things that can help them along the way assess, wow, this brand is really high quality. They keep giving me more and more value with every single touch point that they've created. That's the goal. One of the entities that I've seen do that pretty well on the front end, I should say really well, is Donald Miller's brand, Story Brand, I think it's called, or Brand Story. I always get it dyslexic backwards. But his company, they have a pretty darn awesome follow-up nurturing sequence that just keeps carrying you along. And I'm going to leave it at that because I don't know much more else about the brand other than their free stuff and some clients that came back to us that didn't get the results that they thought they were going to get. So that happens. It happens with my brand too, by the way. I want to be completely transparent. The problem, another problem that business owners face with business is it's not like the sports world. In the sports world, you can see people's wins and their losses very transparently, very clearly. In the business world, if you ask somebody about their losses, most of the time they get very pretentious. They get an inferiority complex and they don't want to talk about it. Or they make you feel bad. Or they don't point fingers to the other entity, but they might not tell you the full truth about what happened. That happens all the time in business because businesses are privately held. And people don't care as much about the track records. Well, guess what? You should. You should definitely care about the track records. There's a reason that, Traffic and Funnel shut down this last year after years of success and $20 million annually. There's a lot of reasons why a brand like that shut down and a lot of really nasty things that were going on. I know because I was a high-end ticket client of theirs and I benefited tremendously, but I have an experienced background as a business owner. So what benefited me did not benefit most of their people in the sales mentor program that were starting out and that didn't have the same type of traction. And that doesn't make me an elitist. That just makes me being honest about the experience. Somebody who's new to business is not, and new to sales is not going to benefit in a program that doesn't actually hold your hand and guide you through it versus somebody who's a sales veteran and has experience in that market. So those aspects, every single thing that I just talked about, it all applies to you being ready to build your pipeline. If you're looking for somebody to help you build these step-by-step, one thing at a time, the people who are like trying to help you master the technology, no, this is not the video for you. This is about the principles of growth that will help you actually sell people into your high ticket programs and build great relationships with them as you do so. So notice here, I've got this little extra note. This is just because I hadn't come up with the automate process before I could delete it. In fact, let's go ahead and do that while we are recording. So anyway, going down, evaluating, alignment call completed, strategy session, follow-up. It's a very redundant process because the process of one appointment versus the process of another is very similar. And so some people would say, hey, send them a follow-up every single day for 15 days. If you have the bandwidth to do it and you don't think it's going to ruin your email bounce rates and email delivery, then go ahead, do it. I just set this up the way that I prefer to do my follow-ups. So let's move on to pass some of those follow-ups for the strategy session, which includes a form and revealing more of the process. And again, sending some bonus items. And there's these victories at the end. Why? Because I haven't set a standard victory for all people yet. We might do that 1, 2, 3 years down the road. For now, it gives us an opportunity to put the new client, for instance, in this channel where they also get added, by the way, to a client pipeline for proper client management. But I want my salespeople as well to be engaged that person because they built this relationship, right? So here's an alert to remind them, hey, go exercise a language of love with that client. Make sure you do something for them. And maybe as we talk about this to sell, we might say, you know what, just do this once a week, right? For the first 5 weeks. And what that does is it just creates this camaraderie. It creates a sense of belonging. It helps people see that there's a proper handoff and not just shoved from one person to the next really fast without any thought or consideration. Then we got this one at the end here, the unknown long-term follow-up. That's kind of like the abandon thing kind of takes care of that as well, by the way, the leads who you did abandon. But I guess if somebody got to some of these final follow-up stages, one of the things that's recommended in a system called FlowChat, which is also one of the ones that inspired me to get back on track with building pipelines this robust. They have this thing for the unknown long-term follow-up. And I think it's just where they recommend like you put your leads that you don't quite know what to do with and you want to create nurture campaigns later. And hey, here your leads are. You can move forward with them later. So I'm going to save that now. And again, back to the terrible, horrible process that there is. Like, okay, so I've got that pipeline and I know I need to build automations, and I've got my pipelines organized based on an A to Z format because I don't think I'll have more than 26 pipelines within the next couple of years for the business. Let's go over to marketing automation, and we're going to go to marketing. We're going to go see if I organize the email templates according to this. I'm not sure if I have yet. I have. Good. I started doing it. So you'll notice that there's several templates. So basically we had built a bunch of email templates in here and gotten really confused about which ones go where and why. All the appointment reminders are all in the same bucket. And is that appointment calendar reminder for this calendar, or is it for the other? Is it for the podcast, or is it for our mainstream calendars? Is it for our team internal calendars? It was painful. So we've got all these different calendars for A. I don't know if we need that many folders for pipeline A, but basically what you're hearing me say is that the pipeline is the primary component for determining the folders in my email templates as well as in my automations. And I might align the same thing for sites. I haven't determined that yet, but this is specifically templates related to Vision Pros, my A pipeline, and stage 1, that awareness stage, right? And these are the ones about interest. So we will see if I keep that. Remember, there's all these follow-up emails that have to be delivered. And I like those to be divided because we're constantly optimizing. Optimizing is the name of the game. It's how you win, not by creating a raw draft and then publishing it and forgetting about it. There is an 80% rule that you do have to follow, right? You don't want it perfect is not the answer. Progress is better than perfect, but you can see that's exactly what this represents. You got A, B, C, and then we skip all the way to E. So we do have 17 other folders and they're not quite organized yet. There's one that says unorganized stuff. We got to get that moved over. But you can see that he just barely created the first high ticket leads pipeline email that's a template. Again, go high level, golly, drive me crazy. A lot of our emails are actually built out within the workflows and they're not templates. So this one is the strategy session form invitation is built out in here. If you want to see it, let me know. I'm not just going to share that though randomly. That's a stellar email. All right, so let's go over to automation, look at workflows, and then I believe I'll just wrap this up right after that. So I realized after creating this, I had an unorganized version of templates. So I've got that deeper in the folders. But I realized too, like some of my workflows got shelved into high ticket leads pipeline because they were calendar based. I was like, no, those need to go in a general company workflows folder. So we got those moved over. And some of these workflows, just so you can see what we've built out in there, are like my folders for my 20-minute calendar, my 45-minute calendar. And then there's the team calendars and the workflow related to team members booking. And then there's the all calendars. All calendars are currently connected to the canceled appointment email series if an appointment gets canceled. I don't like that. I believe we've got to duplicate this and then filter it based on every individual type of calendar that we have so that if an appointment gets canceled in a specific pipeline, the workflow is able to trigger an email related to that particular product, service, or experience. So if my guest cancels, for instance, from my podcast or pre-show for the podcast, they need to be able to receive automated triggered emails right away to get them back on track so we can find out why did they cancel, or we can help them get rebooked conveniently. One of those two things, not necessarily in that order. And the same is true for somebody who might cancel based on having come through my webinar. Or the same is true for somebody who might have come through based on meeting me at a conference directly and coming through these calendar invites. So I believe it's very important to separate that and create different workflows for each experience. Let's go ahead and move on to the high ticket leads pipeline. So check this out. So again, I'm trying to work on making sure that we simplify the naming structure of the folders. We don't have a zillion folders. And one of the ways they came up with doing that was, again, back to those pipelines, making sure they were numbered. And the numbering process is a pain in the butt, because if you mess up, you got to go in and adjust every single number. So I do wish Go High Level had the ability to automatically number those. But what it does, it helps me correlate a little bit faster with where along the pipeline stage are they, the prospect meaning, in their growth, and have we built the workflows necessary to support and automate every important stage or the most important stages of the funnel. So you'll notice we haven't, and that's okay. Again, you all start somewhere and build certain things at different times. I think that some of the most important elements of your business are focusing on the key performance indicators, the key metrics that drive the bottom line forward, right? That move people through your pipeline towards the process of what? Converting, buying from you. So we do have number 14, right? This workflow, the leadership alignment, call booked, internal email, tags added, and the opportunity gets added or updated. Okay. So this particular funnel was extremely important when I had built a sales team, and my sales team was taking, not pre-show calls at the time. They were taking discovery calls, a lot of people call them, or in this case, alignment calls. And to be honest with you, our sales team did not pan out. I had 5 people, 2 of them fought, the other 3 didn't like the fighting, and the whole thing kind of collapsed on itself. And I went back to saying, you know what, we don't need to build a big sales team at this time. It's not nearly as effective as launching a podcast. And that has proven to be true. Our podcast has been super successful. So the leadership stuff was already built out. I just made sure that it was organized as part of this pipeline as they build this pipeline out. All right. So what's happening is a lot of people go from our show experience and they're like, whoa, this is phenomenal. Like, how did you build all this? This is amazing. This is one of the best organized podcasts I've ever seen. I appreciate that. But those people are also saying in their mind, like, man, I wish I had processes like this. Man, I want automations like this. Man, I want my workflow. I want my business to flow like this. So as they're thinking through that, they then transit. So I transition. I say, hey, would you like to do a strategy session with me? And look at your business, or one of my team members also offers the same thing, and they get booked into a strategy session. So 31 through 36 here, this is referring to pipeline stages 31 to 36. This automation is designed to take care of that stage. So it's and you'll notice that there's 1 enrolled because I just launched it. And what it's doing is it is sending the strategy session form, which we have created, and I'll go to that so you see it. So here's our strategy session form. It's a form that was built out in Go High Level. I got to organize the forms to also be in line with the pipelines. This will make everything so much easier, not just for me to manage, but more importantly for my virtual assistants, for my team members, for anybody who's going into helping us build. They will be able to see the alignment of all the elements and build that much faster and know exactly what they're doing as they build out with us. So strategy session form gets filled out, right? Let's go ahead and go back. So the form gets, I'm sorry. So I tag them, and when I tag them that they've requested the strategy session form, and the tags, by the way, are organized according to the pipeline. So the tag would be like HT leads : and then it had, in fact, let's go, I'll show you that one. Let's go into it. So there we go. So the contact tag, HT lead SS requested, the strategy session was requested. They decided to accept that invitation. And so then they get updated, the opportunity gets updated. So the strategy session form link says it was sent. So they're going to move automatically over there. And then email strategy session form link gets sent, and that pulls from the template strategy session form invitation. Then it's going to wait one day. What's going to wait for? It's got an if then clause here. So that did the prospect submit their strategy session form? If yes, that's the end of this experience. If no, then they're going to receive, remember, waited a day up here. They're going to receive a new email, and it's a day reminder. I do not have a template for this. So back to Go High Level and the confusion, you don't get to build templates and emails in the same box. And then you have to go and search for them and find them later, and it's very frustrating. But email, one day reminder. I do like to make my action names very specific so that it's easy to see at a glance what is happening as I move through this pipeline without having to open everything up. Okay, so strategy session reminder with First Class Business plus request, right? I like to add a little bit of intrigue. In this case, I'm not adding value. I'm asking for value from them. Give and take, good and healthy for relationships, by the way. So here it is. Hey, John, or rather just John, we haven't seen your strategy session form submission yet. Click here to fill out the form if it just escaped you. Or is there another way you'd prefer we approach your strategy? We're extremely dedicated to action principles, and I outline my principles. Now, this is not something I would do to a cold person, right? In YouTube, you guys are probably like, awkward, weird. Why? My people don't get invited to strategy session forums from the trunk of a car that looks like I'm trying to sell cheap knockoff cologne. That's what funnels feel like when you're going straight for the kill, straight for the sell, and you're not trying to establish a clear vision of a great culture where that company is holistically going to want to be a part of long term. That's what this is all about. It's about holistic growth. I cannot say that enough. Sustainable revenue growth and building a brand that lasts the test of time and continues to scale out is accomplished best when you are holistic with your business model and you're thinking long term about the relationship, not just greedily building for the immediate win. So 31 to 36 gets handed off to 37. The strategy session form gets submitted. And once it gets submitted, that's going to trigger the appropriate follow-up sequence. And we also have 44 built out and active now, which is the strategy session gets booked and they get the notification reminders and the pipeline updates get made as well. So with that said, I just know I would have loved to have an organized guidance like this when I first started using Go High Level, and I started using it, I believe, 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, we've suffered through the process of building. Now, we've built with some amazing teams, by the way. I'm very grateful for the teams that I've built with and the people who've taught me how to use and the people who've supported. But what has always been lacking is an organized, structured approach to streamlining the opportunity pipelines with the workflows, with the email templates, with the surveys forms, with the automations. Like all of this stuff has been so convoluted and not not well organized. And in large part, as a business owner for the last 2 years, 3 years of a first class business and using Go High Level, that's on me. It was my job. It's my job not to delegate by abdication, but to figure this out. And perhaps I could have worked with Go High Level a bit closer and their support team. But I'm hoping that they'll also be inspired, as I'll probably send this video over to them too, so they can take a look at it and see what we've done. And if any of you have a better way to do things, one that's more organized, then by all means, drop it in the comments. We all learn as we learn from each other, we become better at what we do, and we become more empowered to be able to help the 8 billion people in this world who need our help. Right? And that's really what it's all about, is continuing to give and give back and make ourselves the best that we can. So I would love your support on this video. If this helped you in any way, shape, or form, please share it with others, and see who else it helps. And the cool benefit of that too is if that person has better ideas, then they'll also be able, whoever you share it with, let's say you share it in a group like Go High Level, and you're like, hey, check this out. Is anybody else doing things like this? You might have somebody who comes back and maybe they're mean about it. So what? Maybe they're like, well, mine's way better. This is how it works. And then I get tagged back, you get tagged in it. And next thing you know, we're all building with a more synchronized, better system in order to make sure that we're able to deliver our proper value whatever that value is that you are providing in the world. In my case, it is revenue growth and business services. So if this is helpful to you, awesome. If you are a fantastic leader in the world, if you have a vision that you'd like to share, we would love to invite you to come join us on visionproslive.com and share your vision. There's a guest application button there. We do not charge to be on the show. We're looking for people who want to make great impact and who have a message of impact in order to get that in front of others. And we really love being inspired by your visions ourselves. And I wish everybody a fantastic Q4. And again, looking forward to your feedback on what you learned from this process and how we can improve, as well as how you plan on implementing some of these in your own brands. Bye-bye.